to this parallel session, sixth on the day 4 of this international e-conference. This session, the room number 5, we have assembled at room number 5. So the session name is Perspectives on Migration and Diaspora 5. So we have a chair, Dr. AKM Azanullah. Will be chairing the session. A warm welcome to you all. We have a very diverse papers. There are 9 presenters. I think the chair will the chair will decide the timing, So he will decide the timing. Now it's time to introduce the chair of the session. So it's a great pleasure to introduce Dr. AKM Azanullah. Dr. AKM Azanullah. Sir, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
All right, go ahead.
Azanullah. AKM Azanullah is Associate Professor in Geography, Environment and Development at the University of Brunei Darussalam. Ullah's research portfolio includes and stints at the University of Ottawa, McMaster University, St. Mary's University, Dalhousie University, the American University in Cairo, City University, Hong Kong, and the Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand. His research areas include population migration, human rights, development, environment, and health policy. Dr. Ullah has contributed more than 50 articles to the referred journals, as well as some 40 chapters in a number of books. He has published around 15 books to date. It's a pleasure to have you at this session, and also, given your vast experience in the field of migration and diaspora, we look forward to your insightful comments to our paper presenters. Sir, now it's over to you. I will come back and end to wrap up the session. Sir, now it's to you. So over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahalingan, and it's a very generous introduction. And I guess you got the information about me from our website, I guess. But anyway, it's too generous. And I don't know if I will be able to make any comments at all, because it seems like 9 articles, 9 papers, and the time is like 2 hours. So I don't know if I can fit in at all to make any comments. But what we're going to do, since given the number of articles, the papers that you're presenting, I guess 10 minutes per presenter will be allocated, and I'll try to stick to that. And what is important, I guess, in your presentations, just go for the introduction and go for the argument, and go to the findings, and at the end, like if you have any intriguing in conclusion, that will be fine actually. So that I don't know how many participants are here, that if there are some comments or reflections or questions, so they can ask and you can reflect on that. So allowing more time actually for the audience, so that will be good. It seems like you said, Dr. Mahalingan, that papers are actually diverse and it seems very interesting. So let's not waste any time. So I just invite the first presenter, MD Ghulam Mustafa, who is presenting on developed and decentralized migration information hub. Let's see what it is about, and I invite MD Ghulam Mustafa. Please go ahead. Your time is 10 minutes. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Can I just intervene here? I want all the participants to introduce yourself, your name, and where do you belong.
Yes,
that will be really nice for the other presenters.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I missed it.
Thank you, sir. My name is Ghulam Mustafa. I'm from Bangladesh. I working as a migrant resource center counselor at International Center for Migration Policy Development at Bangladesh. Thank you. So, sir, I want to share my presentation. Uh, Basically, I want to share the topic development and decentralized migrant information to the doorsteps of the people. Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go
Okay,
ahead,
sir.
please.
Background, there are 4,562 Union Council in Bangladesh, and the Union Council consists of a chairman, 12 member, including 3 member exclusively reserved for women, and Union Parishad formed under the Local Government Act uh, 2009. The Union Council is the body primarily responsible for agricultural, industrial, community development within the local limits of the Union. In 2009, Bangladesh government established Digital Center at Union Upazila, that means sub-district and city corporation to cater one-stop e-service to the citizen. Presently, different services are provided by Union Digital Centers, but safe migration information service are mostly absent there. Objectives find out the gap of authentic information about the safe migration among rural people, know the present situation of safe migration information, challenges and opportunity of safe migration issue. Data collection. I have conducted 15 sessions at 15 local government institutions among Union Parishad or Union Council with chairman, member, local elites, religious leader on migration issue. It was a 3-hour workshop with the mentioned people, and I have collected their response on it. I have recorded their response with documentation. I note down their response, experience, and recommendation on the safe migration. Findings: lack of knowledge, that means he does not have information. The local government institution think it is not their responsibility. No one ever thought that it could be the only organization that provides information near to him. The Union Digital Center is mainly busy with business activity than information providing. They never thought or planned for the use of the Union Digital Center in safe migration information purpose. Proposed function of Digital Center. A Digital Center is set up in the local government department, Union Parishad, Upazila Parishad, Jila Parishad, that's mean district level, and municipality with necessary materials. A permanent service provider has to be appointment from the local government department for the digital center. Digital center will provide necessary information and service to the local people at low cost or no cost. Digital center can declare service week by roving announcement in the community. As for example, first week migration, second week land, third week health, and fourth week agriculture. Digital center service provider has to need more training to operate the center. Provide training to all members of local government bodies so that they can monitor the activity and provide necessary information to the people. Develop a migration corner at local government institution. Provide training to the various local governments so that they can provide necessary information about digital center activities to the public. The local government agency make it mandatory to register for aspiring or returning migrant so that local government organization can act in case of migration smuggling. Migration initial steps and information government circulate had to available to the local government organization. To activate the local committee of prevention of human trafficking or migration smuggling, and to make the recommendation to the community is mandatory for aspiring migrant. There are some limitations there. There are no necessary equipment at all local government department, have no adequate training, available middlemen in the migration sector, lack of proper law enforcement agencies action at all level, no regular and adequate staffs. Recommendation. In the current digital time, people get information in any way, but it is very difficult to verify the authentic of information. The local government department can play a very important role in this case. However, if the limits of the information could be decentralized beyond the local government, the benefit would be greater. For example, we can say about the mobile banking and mobile research system available in everywhere, but we have to develop a system. Conclusion: providing free information always help people to make the right decision, even though there is available information, but the strategy and proper channel is not correct, then that information have no value to the people. So using different agency of the local government department to provide the information on safe migration will be reduce the people harassment, will be reduce the migration cost, and will bring more remittance to the country. Some photos of the event. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much for finishing your presentation on time, and you got some more time though. I guess one thing is important to say that the audience, if you want to make any comments, that if you want to talk, you can leave comments or questions on the chat box. I guess Dr. Mahalingan can compile if there are any comments and that pass it to the presenter. I guess that would be a good thing. And thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Ghulam Mustafa. And I got a number of questions, but I'm not actually going to ask many questions, just maybe one reflections about how, because we're talking about the DCs, right? The digital centers that are established in Upazilas or whatever. And you wanted to go for or measure the safe migration.
Yes.
And do you have any idea that the people, those who are employed or they're acting, working in DCs, do they know what safe migration is all about? If they do have, what are the variables they actually measure against this the safe migration? What is that the framework? Or did you get any idea, or do you have any idea of whether they know what is that all about? Did you get me what I'm saying?
Basically, sir, they have no idea about the safe migration. So I think this is the point of my presentation, that in Bangladesh they are called entrepreneur, digital center entrepreneur, and they have no much more knowledge on the migration issues. So this is my point. If we facilitate them, if we give more information, if we train them, so that the people get the real message of safe migration at local level.
I guess I stop here and I invite audience, if you have any question, any reflections, and any comments on that, please go ahead.
Sir, we can take up the question and answer at the end, but you can give your comments after the presenter presents the paper.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mahalingan and Mr. MD Ghulam Mustafa. And I guess I invite our next presenter, Sanchana Srivastava. I'm sorry if my pronunciation is not correct. And she is going to present on the migration diplomacy in world politics, where it seems to be a very interesting one. And I just went through the abstract of this paper, but it didn't give me a very good reflection on that, because abstract is abstract anyway. Let's hear Ms. Sanchana. Please go ahead. Thank you.
A very good afternoon, respected sir. And I would like to thank all the organizers for the amazing conference which is being held, and many congratulations. And I'm a master's in international relations from Central University of Jharkhand. And the topic of my presentation is migration diplomacy in world politics. So the aim of my article is to address a gap in international relations literature by theorizing migration diplomacy as an object of study and research. And I will do so by analyzing its scopes, conditions, and drawing heavily on realistic approaches in international relations, and will outline how the interests and power of the actors are affected by the position in migration system according to whether they are migration sending. Third, I will discuss migration issues. Starting with the definitions of migration diplomacy, just as states engage with one another in different areas, like peace, trade, economics, environment, migration diplomacy is another such concept. Three main scope conditions lies in our definition. Firstly, migration diplomacy refers to state action and investigates how cross-border population mobility is linked to state diplomatic aims. Secondly, a state's migration diplomacy is not synonymous with its overall migration policy. It may range from completely restrictive to allowing free migration. For example, standard elements of migration diplomacy, such as asylum policy and the issuing of visas, are not in any theme of elements of migration diplomacy. US visa is not shaped by diplomatic priorities of the United States. So, finally, migration diplomacy highlights the importance of management of cross border mobility as an international issue. After highlighting the major definitions of the migration diplomacy, I would like to go to the functions, which is different from traditional diplomacy. Is that immigration diplomacy can be identified as a number of sending state policies, both currently and historically, are often identified in the states of global south, Egypt. For instance, it constitutes the largest export of labor in Arab world, and immigration diplomacy underwent two broad periods. For example, President Gamal Abdel Nasser, the Egyptian state president, would promote the immigration of teachers, lawyers, and high skilled professionals. Finally, transit states are third countries that are neither countries of origin nor destination. And while the precise data on intra Arab migration flows is notoriously unreliable, it has been estimated that economic remittances from Jordanians working in oil producing Arab states amount to roughly 20% of the country's GDP. So, to conclude, I would say that my paper underwent the definitions of migration diplomacy as a multifaceted concept, both in terms of actors involved in strategies employed, as highlighted, the identity of a sending, transit, or receiving state is neither singular nor static. As states' interests involve on their position with the web of global migration flows changes, they may also revise the migration diplomacy accordingly. In this paper, I have presented a basic framework for thinking about the relationship between cross-border mobility, state power and interest, and interstate bargaining and diplomacy. I have proposed a definition of a delineated scope of conditions of what constitutes migration diplomacy. The concept of migration diplomacy serves to highlight multiple effects of cross-border population mobility, not merely as the numerous aspects of domestic politics, but also as international relations. There is a well-developed literature in political science and sociology on the domestic impacts on migration on states. So, given the likelihood that migration will only increase in its importance to states and their policymakers in the next decade. So, this was my analysis of migration diplomacy, which is going on in world politics. So, any kind of questions is likely to be welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Everybody's doing the presentation on time, which is great. And it is, to me, is something fresh in migration studies, I would say, and it's but I don't know the scale of the paper and the how deep you have gone into the phenomena. If I can ask you that how did you, in fact, because we tried to define migration diplomacy. How did you come up with the conceptualization? How did you conceptualize, in fact, to feed this into your paper? Though you just touched a bit upon the framework, I don't know what it is in fact, but how did you really conceptualize the migration diplomacy? Because if we define migration and diplomacy separately, this is two different entities. And how did you really conceptualize to fit into your analytical framework?
Thank you so much, sir. So according to me, migration diplomacy is a multifaceted concept, sir. And as highlighted already, it is like identifying, sending or transmitting, receiving a singular and non-static means engagement between states. And apart from other issues in this world gamut, the migration diplomacy is also a very important concept which has been highlighted among different countries in this international system. So, according to me, what migration diplomacy is that it involves linkages of different areas of state interest. The countries pursue it with its own self-interest for its own economic gains, and in the world of interdependence, this diplomacy can surely have an interconnected relations with the interdependent connections with different countries. So this is how I conceptualize the term. And in my paper, I have made every possible attempt to highlight the definition of migration diplomacy, its scopes, and how migration diplomacy has affected cross-border population mobility. Thank you.
Yeah, that is one of the objectives of your paper, how this has affected the migration mobility, right? Kind of thing. What would be your theoretical approach? I'm sorry, it's not a question, like it's a kind of comment. So I want to know as well
So
your thoughts about it.
Mix of realism and liberalism. So.
All right. Okay, good. Thank you. It is good. I think I like to read the paper once it is ready. It seems something fresh to be added to the migration studies. Thank you so much. Like Dr. Mahalingam said, that the questions the audience can ask at the end of the entire session, right? Okay, good. So, okay, thank you, Shanchana. This is how you pronounce your name, and thank you for that.
You got it rightly now. You pronounced it rightly. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And how about I go for the next presenter, that is about geopolitical analysis of migration, refugees and internally displaced persons in the northeast states of India. Looks like very interesting, and it's three different and broad concepts putting together, like migration, refugees, and IDPs in northeast states of India. So it sounds like very interesting one. And this is going to be presented by Dr. Sualal Jangu. So I invite Dr. Jangu to go ahead with the presentation. Thank you.
Sualal Jangu, can you just open your video and mic, please? She's there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see. Dr.
I mean,
Jangu.
Yeah. Thank you so much to all, especially the chair the session, Sanula, and the coordinator Mahalingam, and the Zoom supporter Firoz Khan. I'm very thankful to all, and it is a kind of a opportunity for me interacting and presenting my view. The chair, respected chair, he asked that interesting, and I put it together all three themes. Reason is that why did I put all three themes together? Because all three are interrelated. We see the geopolitical context of the northeast region of India. We will find that all three, either migrants, refugee, or IDPs, all are interrelated. So I put it together. I'm going to share my PPT. So I think it is visible.
Yeah, it
Is
is.
it visible? Okay. So I did not arrange the paper in a kind of research or article. These are just my points that I want to share and present. As first, I'm not going definition and rules, regulation, laws. All these are available as the government sources and the websites of the institution and the government body. I'm just simply highlighting that the pools and push factors of attracting migrants in the Northeast. Why the Northeast states of India attracting the migrants from outside, especially rest of India and the neighboring countries. Is the Ghulam Mustafa, he is also here. He knows the issue of migrants in India, especially Northeast. Actually, the Northeast region of India is known as a node of the origin of many ethnic groups, including the Bangladesh Chittagong Hill Trek also is together with this node. So most of ethnic groups is in Northeast, they claim that this is their homeland, this is native land, and they are son of soil. That is it's the similar ethnic group. The member of the ethnic group in other country, neighboring countries or in other states, try to assimilate, join, and like integrate. And that's so. This is a kind of a sense that they are native people. They have homeland. They are son of soil. The second is that ethnic and minority.
I guess Dr. Zangu is out of connection, so I can't hear him. Dr. Mahalinga, are you there?
Yes, sir, you are right. We can't hear him.
Yeah, he is frozen. Dr. Mahalinga, are you there? Dr. Jangu, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Dr. Jangu. You have been frozen.
You are muted. Mr. Zhang.
We didn't hear you.
Yes. Now you are hearing me.
Yeah,
Actually, yeah, at my place, internet connectivity is not stable.
Oh, all right. Okay. Okay.
I'm facing the problem.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, please. Now.
So,
time.
Yeah, is my PPT share? I think not visible.
I guess if your network is problematic, you can just talk.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So so that is a reason, or as pulling or the person of ethnic communities are entering into Northeast region. Another, we see that ethno-nationalism and the protection of ethnic identity kind of a political is a feeling, and a political integrity, like as a sense nowadays in the every ethnic community. One, they are projecting themselves as a ethno-nationality and and they are very serious about protecting their identity. So that's so we see migrant from other state and other countries is a kind of joining the one platform of nationalism. Whether in Myanmar, the Chin state or Chin areas, whether the Mizo, Kuki or Naga, they are trying to, they are coming or they are entering legally or unofficially into Indian states is to join this ethno-nationalism. And hill and plains attraction also. The very nature and the resources, availability of resources also attracting the people from other regions or cross border. And in this region or states, there is a need of skilled labor, workers, and human resources. So that is also reason that people are coming. Border security and management also in international border with Bangladesh or Myanmar. There are some loopholes, some are not properly in the security system. So people get chance to enter. Even many times we see the cases people entering into Northeast from Bangladesh side, especially African people, as they reaching Bangladesh and through the Bangladesh, they crossing the border and entering in Tripura, the neighboring the bordering state with Bangladesh. So many times in newspapers we see the news of that how the African migrant they also coming into Northeast region via Bangladesh. Political atmosphere in the neighborhood also one of the issue, the pushing factor, especially in Myanmar. The political reforms are going on in Bangladesh also. A huge Rohingya refugee are there. So they also like coming, looking opportunity, chance to enter into Northeast region. And the politicalization, nationalization of ethnic and non-ethnic issues. That is a kind of recent developments in Northeast states in India. Like every ethnic community are so politicalized, so kind of nationalized. That is also that take place or conflict with the other communities or in the communities, and the result we see the internally displaced people, lot of people affected. Mainland political mainstream also. The Indian Union government is whoever political party in the rule always like promote a kind of mainland political agenda, means say exclusion for the Northeast. When the neighboring countries issues also, those issues are attached with the Northeast, never included in the agenda. So that also we see, and nowadays we see in India, the main political agenda is totally isolating the neighboring countries, not actually ignoring the neighboring countries' issues, why the people are illegally entering, why the people are crossing, and even are just blaming and claiming kind of policies going on. And the last is lack of political and economic equality in terms of representation, resource, and autonomy. So Northeast states, we see that all states, hill and plains, they are divided, especially the Assam and Tripura and Manipur, hills and plains, and resource distribution among communities are not equal. And that is also reason that interstate displacement also within the state displacement and migration of the people are taking place. As I just mentioned like introduction, so already I mentioned many of points. I'm not going to call these. I just only that this Northeast region is geographically logged and socially also closed. If we see the history of Northeast states, is the never inclusion in the mainstream politics in India, in the history of India. So they always like in the past as isolated, is geographically marginalized, socially marginalized. So now their aspiration, their feelings are emerging. Now it is generating. So now they also proclaiming they want autonomy, they want nationalism, and they also want a statehood. So that is also reason of so many kind of.
Dr. Jango, let me interrupt, and you got to summarize because you're running out of time.
Okay, sir. So this is a northeast region that, yeah, I'm just summarizing. I don't have much text. Already I finished the text. So this is a region we see that the complexity, geopolitical complexity, this region present so we see that the formation of the state also on the line of ethnic, but only the dominant ethnic groups they successfully achieved the statehood. But many the minority ethnic groups they are deprived. So now the internal displaced people, the migrant people, interstate migrant people, refugee because of this clash of statehood, like minority ethnic groups versus majority ethnic groups. And forms of migration is just we see that most of migration coming from rest of India. Is sometimes we blame only neighboring countries. We are ignoring the rest of Indian migration, the domestic migration we always ignore. And unidentical migration and illegal migration from neighbors, interstate migration and marital migration also. This is a social relation kind of marriage-based migration also. And this is also we see the hotspot of migration in India, especially the northeast. See that people are migrating from northeast also. It is not one-way migration, two-way also.
Yeah, thank you. You got to stop now, Dr. Jangu. You really ran out of time.
So now I am coming to the conclusion. Just only 1 minute, sir. Give me. As this is a geopolitical map of a northeast, very complex geopolitical scenario. And IDPS, I mentioned like the forms and causes of internally displaced people. And this I myself prepared a map how that, I pointed that where the migration illegal, unofficial and displaced people, refugee. I myself prepared this, and I visited most of the places. Northeast region. And this conclusion and suggestion. Actually, to address the problem of migration, illegal migration and refugee and IDPS issue, India need a national, holistic and inclusive approach and policy. Now, what happening that Indian Union government always depend or give a solution or leave the issue on the state, and the state only like a policy followed by the under pressure of majority community. So state and local approach will not work. Regional political parties in Northeast region need a national orientation. All regional political parties have no national orientation. Always their issues are very local and very narrow. So they can't have a solution. Naturalization, assimilation in the region's mainstream is very important. Various ethnic groups should be assimilated and naturalized. Solution of demand of autonomy statehood also possible. And it is only that political willingness is required. Political will is required. Political solution is possible of the most of IDPS problems. I myself personally observed, I'm working on a project, also research project on IDPS. Border monitoring and vigilance required also. Solution of non-state actors conflict. This is a very kind of issue, and most of reason of the IDPS migration in Northeast is in non-state actors conflict like ethnic groups and militant groups. Learning from the history. When the state stakeholders, they also not learning the past from the past, they have done mistake, giving up the impractical solution and searching new and alternative. Like every policy, every government in Northeast states, state government, they are suggesting only that we have to throw back, we have to push back the legal migrant.
No, all right, Dr. Jango, I really got to stop you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sir. Thank you. I almost finished.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Thank you so much. But because I gave you some more time because you were kind of frozen, so we didn't hear it. That's why you get you were given 2 minutes more than the usual
Okay,
time.
thank
So
you,
can
sir. I finished. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And only few comments about the concepts, because like you said, migration, refugees, and obviously IDPs, they are interrelated. But there is a huge misunderstanding about it. When you talk about refugees, and they really, we follow the 1951 conventions. But one has to be able to cross the border. If whatever is the situation, maybe is extremely bad situation, and if somebody can't cross the border, that he or she can be considered as refugees. So that is something we really have to be strictly following about it. Otherwise, we will be conceptually misleading things. So that is something we have to keep in mind. Number one. Number two is we don't use these days pull and push. Why is this? For example, if I push someone, it means you have lost your agency. Agency means your own, yourself. So this push-pull, it has become kind of classic idea these days, right? And this is applicable only for the cases that relates to forced migration, when you don't have any choice, right? Because you're not losing your agency, something like that. So let's keep this in mind for all of us, and if you get any further comments and reflections and questions, then you can address at the end of the session. Thank you so much, Dr. Jangu, and it was good and it was elaborative. And I would say at the end, like, you got to tighten up your presentation. Like, it seems like so much thing we try to put in one dish. So you really have to tighten up and give an idea what your objectives are in reality, because we, as an audience, we don't know which direction you're going. So that would be a good thing if we can focus on one or two precise objectives. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And let's go to the next presentation, from transgression to transformation of diaspora identity in Jhumpa Lahiri's The Lowland. Mrs. Vasundhara?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, floor is yours, please go ahead.
A very good afternoon to one and all. My name is Vasundhara and I'm a research. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
You
Okay.
are.
I'm a research scholar. I'm doing my research in the University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, India. And my area of research is also diaspora literature. Today I'm going to present a paper. The title of my paper is From Transgression to Transformation of Diaspora Identity in Jhumpa Lahiri's The Lowland. In this very paper, I've selected I've taken one of the novels written by Jhumpa Lahiri, one of the diaspora women writers. That is The Lowland, and I'm trying to find out the elements of transgression and how it changes the identity of the migrants. Okay, here I go. Over the past few decades, due to globalization, the world has witnessed a nexus of social, cultural, and technological changes that have stimulated mass migration or movement of people, not only within the nation, but also across the globe. Many educated youths and unskilled laborers from South Asian countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka chose to migrate to other countries owing to very political and economic reasons. People migrating to other countries not only are not only physically and culturally detached from their homelands, but they also had to sustain and survive in an alien or new socio-cultural milieu. Some of these migrants who have had the first-hand experience of living either temporarily or permanently in other countries have shed the light on the lives of the migrants through their writing. Their personal experiences enables us to uncomplicate the notion of diaspora identity. And Jhumpa Lahiri, being a diaspora writer, in her novel The Lowland, she meticulously expresses the changing identity of the migrants as a result of the numerous personal and political choices that they make. Today, the term diaspora has been understood in diverse ways. However, it primarily continues to be associated with border crossing or movement of the people from one geographical boundary to another. Metaphorically, the phenomena can be correlated with transgression or alteration of not just the physical boundary, but also of the social, political, and cultural reality. Migration induces one to make a shift from the given social cultural realm in which one is born and venture into the itineraries of alien culture. Larry's novel, The Lowland, narrates the ambiguous attempt of its character to find a home and an identity away from the home by, transgressing the established social norms. Set in the background of the Maoist revolution of 1960s in Calcutta, the novel predominantly covers the story of two siblings, that is Udayan and Subhash, and the different choices that they make, which not only changes their course of life, but also of the coming generation. Udayan, the younger brother, he is quite impulsive and unreasonable nature, matches with the turbulence of the Maoist revolution, which compels him to unintentionally transcend the boundary of humanity. He transgresses the social, political, and cultural norms and secretly involves himself into the revolution. He himself gets embroiled in the violent act of bombing and assassination to achieve the ideology of social justice. His bold and transgressive nature is also symbolically projected is projected in the novel, where in his childhood, he accidentally happens to leave his imprint in the freshly cemented room. Subhash, the quiet and the less obvious of the Mitra brothers, his bold decision to migrate to the US can be metaphorically called a transgressive act driven by his quest to redefine his identity. His decision to move to US is more stirred by his decision to do something which his younger brother, Udayan, could never achieve. He wants to escape the chaos and the violence spread in Calcutta and find a congenial space for himself where he can personally and professionally bloom. The growing political activism and the violence disappoints him and restrains him and his aspiration. His childhood adventure into the Tolle Club, which gives him a glimpse into the luxuriant life led by the colonizer, inspires him to pursue his dream of obtaining a PhD degree and raising his social and economic condition of himself and his family. As brothers, Subhash and Udayan, they share physical similarity, but as they grow, their diverse ideological beliefs separates them. Thus, it urges Subhash to cross the border and reshape his identity away from the home and his brother. By choosing to migrate to the US, he breaks his own image of being an obedient son and a brother and takes his first independent move to assert his identity. Lahiri writes, he was proud to have come to America to learn it as he once must have learned to stand and walk and speak. However, after migration, he undergoes a phase of remarkable transition or change which shapes his diaspora identity. He migrates from Calcutta. His migration from Calcutta alienates him from his family. His longing for his family is suggestively highlighted through the geographical similarity he traces between the Rhodes Island and his village Trollygunge back in Calcutta. Gauri is another character who later migrates in her life. She is a graduate of philosophy. From the Presidency College, Calcutta. Being a woman, she has to bear the strain of the patriarchy. Her independent and philosophical nature attracts Udayan, the rebellious brother. By eloping with Udayan, she transgresses the barrier of the traditional society, which gives no right to the woman to choose her partner. Way back in 1960s, Gauri continues to feels alienated, and she is shunned by her own in-laws in her own home as she has married Udayan without the consent of her in-laws. By accepting, later on, she becomes the widow of Udayan and she accepts the marriage proposal of Subhash, the elder brother. She transgresses the traditional norm of remarriage after being a widow. Her acceptance and marriage with Subhash are disdained by herself later. Yet, she accepts the proposal and migrates with Subhash to the Rhode Island. However, she never manages to become the wife of Subhash in the real sense. After her migration, she keeps herself confined to her studies, preparing academic papers. Thus, she sees migration as an opportunity to find a new identity, which is in coherence with the new culture and idea. Unlike India, where she has to live her life according to Udayan and his parents after her marriage, when she comes to Udayan, she goes to US, she gets the chance to shed the traditional custom of the traditional expectation from a family. She shows the least interest in the family affairs and duty to bring up her daughter Bella. Bella, the child of what you call Gauri and Udyan, she's the daughter of Gauri, also becomes a transgressor like her father Udyan, who championed the cause of collective well-being through eco-friendly project. Her wandering as a homeless wanderer sets her transgression. After Gauri abandons her for her academic career, she chooses to be aloof and undisturbed by anything. She keeps herself confined, and which consequently changes her personality completely. Unlike her parents, Gauri and Subhash, she rejects the academic vocation and chooses to work as an itinerant farmer. Being traumatized by her mother's absence, she prefers to live alone and tries to find meaning in the life in the abode of Mother Nature. By becoming, later she becomes pregnant and gives birth to a child as a single parent. She transgresses and lives her life on her own terms and conditions. Subhash calls her a nomad, which suggests her transitional identity. Her identity is on a move. Pained by the trauma of her mother's abandonment, she forms no affection or attraction or tenderness with anyone. Rather, she embraces the unconventional way of working by forming momentarily relation with strangers and unfamiliar faces. Thus, the few are the characters which I have cited. They are some of the migrants. Now, after their migration, they have to interface the new culture, which calls them to which calls for a cultural shift. And it can happen only through their transgression, and then which consequently leads to their transformation in their identity. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I was about to give you the signal that you got 2 minutes more. So, okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Vasundhara, it seems like, if I'm wrong, just you can correct me. It sounds like you are kind of reviewing Jhumpa Lahiri.
I'm not reviewing Jhumpa Lahiri, but I'm trying to study this novel from the perspective of this two things. That is the transgression, through this metaphor of transgression and transformation. What are the transgressive steps her characters, especially the migrant characters, they do, which consequently leads to their transformation in their identity.
How was the diasporic identity has been portrayed in the what do you call it, in his or her writing? How was it portrayed, in fact?
Okay. Like as we know that migration people, most of our characters, they are lewd. They migrate to the other countries for various reasons, as I said that. Now their identity, it is somewhere it is lost. They try to negotiate with the they negotiate the thing with the home, because they are time and again they are reminded of the home. Like one of the characters, that is Subhash, he transgresses, he goes to US because he wants to have a degree from US, and later on when he goes, he misses the home. He misses the way they sit together and have the food. He misses companionship, and in that longing, he happens to also form different illegitimate relationship with a woman named Holly, which he could have never done if he had been in India. So there's always a sense of longing, a desire to assimilate, because another thing which I cited is that by seeing the physical geography of the place where he is trying to assimilate the things, how it is very much similar with that of the physical locality of his village. So there is always a kind of longing, a desire to assimilate in the first generation. Now going back to the second generation, what we see is that they are least bothered about it, because they have already been uprooted. They are not at all they don't find any kind of attachment with the home culture, like we see the other two characters, that is Bella and her daughter, that is Meghna. She chooses to become a single mother. She don't even reveal she never reveals the husband, her partner, with whom she has the daughter Meghna. So these are the few things which they do. They try to cross some of this the social boundary which it may be difficult for them to do back in India, but they are doing there.
It's understandable as generation goes by, the identity erodes and the connection erodes to their home, like you said. So their father, the Jhumpal Lahiri, go ahead. They
sir, you were asking something.
No, did Jhumpal Lahiri looks like she, right? So did she have two homes? Did she have two homes? It means she lost her home in like identity wise in India, or she that is where we find the concept of diaspora, like when you lose your connections are back home, then you are no longer at the diaspora, because this is a blurred line between migrants and diaspora. So that is something we tend to forget.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Did you find just in one sentence, because we are running out of time, in one sentence, like did you find her that she lost the connections? I mean, they lost their home back in India, and and tended to get the deep root in the US. Was that the case?
In her interview, she has talked about she was trying her best. Like after her migration, she was trying her best to convince. She was in a low situation where she has to, at home she has to abide by the Indian culture, and outside she has to go by their culture. So somewhere she's lost, although she's not disconnected completely with the culture, but somewhere she's lost. She don't know where to connect herself, and the same thing is reflected in most of her characters. There's a deep longing. They are not able to find a stable home. Very recently, she shifted to home because that's a different. Because she shifted to Rome to find a new place where she can make a completely new place where she has no connection at all. So she has talked about that. Like in US, after migrating, she's able to. There's always a connection what her parents have left behind, and recently she shifted to Rome, where it's a completely new place where she wouldn't be identified by others, and where she has no cultural legacy to rely on.
It's so intriguing, Vasundhara. I hope I hope I can, at some point of time, I can read your write-up, and it sounds very interesting, and especially the generations as they, the third generation, the second generations, as they go by, their identity erodes, the connections erode. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm sure that you will have so many questions. It seems that people are writing the questions on the chat box. So I leave it here, and thank you so much for your nice presentations, and thank you so much again. And let me go to the next. Let me go to the next one: the Indian diaspora and the repatriation, nationalism in the time of COVID-19. This is by Bijaya Sani and Dr. Sadananda Sahu. I don't know who is going to present. I guess Dr. Bijaya. I guess it's a. Please go ahead, unmute, and go ahead. Yeah, thank you. We can't hear you. I can't hear you. I don't know if the rest.
Vijay, we can't hear you. Do one thing, just speak through your computer mic. Remove your headphone. No. Still we can't hear you. Can you fix up your problem? We'll go to other presenter. Okay, we'll come back to you. Sir, we can go to other presenters. Can you call?
Okay. Okay, so let's go to the next one, and we wait for Dr. Vizoy for him to be okay with the connections and whatever. The next one is the development of diaspora writing in Indian English fiction, potential roles. Potential roles and effects of diaspora experiences. Miss Sabina Lucky, if you're here, please go ahead. You got 10 minutes.
Miss Sabina, are you there? She was there. She was here actually.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, but I don't know what happened. She is not here. Maybe some network problem. I think then we have to go to Masrul Islam. He's there.
Okay, so yeah, we skip to the perceptions of aging among the Iranian migrants. Evidence from Nepsahir of Turkey, Dr. Mazharul Islam. I'm not sure if did we talk before at some point? Oh yes, please go ahead, Dr. Mazharul Islam.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we have a talk through social media. Yeah, I'm Mazhar Islam. I'm from Bangladesh. I've been living in Turkey, and I'm working as an assistant professor in Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University. My specialization is climate change and migration and refugee issues. So yeah, this is the practical research which I have done. I did in last year. Still is under processing to be published. Not yet published yet. Yeah, I'm planning to publish in some journals, recognized journals. So I would like to expect have some invaluable comments from you, sir, especially, and from the audiences as well. So without wasting time, let's go to the slide.
Yep.
Let me share the slides, please. Yeah. Sir, do you see the slides? Just yes or no, please.
Yeah, can.
Okay, sure. Thank you, sir. So the topic is today I'm gonna present the topic: the perceptions of aging among the Iranian migrants and the evidence from Nevşehir of Turkey. Nevşehir is a province. It is particularly known for. It is called Cappadocia region. I mean, Cappadocia is situated in Nevşehir, where I have worked for 2 years. So yeah, I conducted this study among the Iranian migrants. So I have designed today's presentation in this way to give some a brief introduction about the task and why this study is important, why I have done this study, and what are the objectives of my work, and which methodology actually I have implied, and the main results, and I will try to discuss based on the results, and I'll try to give a conclusion based on the results, and then we'll go for a question and answer session. Yeah, so we know that aging is has been a significant social issue for almost 50 years, as the number of people aged over 60 and over has been growing last. For your kind information, I'm just trying to make it clear. For my research, first I have tried to take as a practical, operational definition. This is the theoretical definition, like 60 and over. The people who are 60 and over are called aged. But for my research, practically, I didn't find so many people to interview. If I would consider 60 and over, then I considered for my study 55 and over as the aged person. So I'd like to make it clear before. So scholars from all countries started researching this social issue intensely because it's reflected in many scholarly articles written on aging and relevant aspects. So because the world population aged 60 and over has been growing quickly, and it has doubled since 1980, So this population is expected to reach 20% of the total population in 2050. So this means that all countries of the world have a significant percent of the population aged 60 years and above. So this population group has its own perception of the later period of their lifespan. I mean, it's not important how we think of them. It's important to know how they think of themselves. That's why I just wanted to know how this particular group of people, and because they have a very special status in Turkey, they're coming from Iran and they have been living in Turkey for the uncertain period of time. So how they think of their later life, this is what actually was my prime intention to know. So I would like to skip these ideas. Yeah, but I would like not to miss this thing. A study shows that the perception of aging varies very significantly by culture, by age, by gender. So there is a study, it says that Koreans have higher levels of anxiety about aging and the psychological and physical state of old people compared to their American counterparts. So there is a study. So regarding this, taking all those study, I have also designed how these people are, feel, what is their perception regarding their later age, whether there is a cultural differences, whether the cultural aspects, cultural factors influence their perception level, whether their age influence their perception level, whether their gender influences their perception level. I wanted to show these things. So yeah, I would like to escape some issues because of time barrier. So why this studies significance? Why it is important to do? You know, this study I consider are Iranian elderly migrants because they have a different status other than other migrants in Turkey. You know that Turkey is called the laboratory of the migrants and refugees. So in Turkey, there are many people from many countries, including Bangladesh, including Afghanistan, including Palestine, including Pakistan, including Iran, Iraq, and there are lots of refugees. These are migrants, and there are many refugees from Syria. I mean, almost 4 million people are living here, noted, registered and unregistered. So this is a very important issue to be discussed, how these people are getting status in the society, how they're getting the services from the government while they're here in Turkey. So Iranian migrants started their journey with the intention to migrate to Western countries. The important thing is that these people did not come to Turkey to stay here for a longer time. They just use Turkey as a transition country. I mean, Turkey is a transit point. So their intention is to move to USA or move to any kind of Western countries. So for them, Turkey is a kind of transition country, but unfortunately, due to many geopolitical reasons, due to many social and political reasons, they got stuck in Turkey for many years. You know, so this is why you know, some people are thinking to consider Turkey as their destination. So the number of Iranian transit immigrants has been increasing in Turkey, and some of them are becoming aged during their stay here because they could not move to Western countries, but even they don't know when they will move to European countries. But they have been living here for the uncertain period, for 10 years, 5 years, but they don't know when they will move to European countries. And they have been living here under the protection of United Nations. And you know, the interesting thing is that I have tried to go many literatures written on those people, but I didn't find any literature that covered elderly people, this type of transit migrants. I mean, migrants in a transit country, those who are stuck in transit countries. So that's why I intended to do research on this issue. So this is my objective, to explore the perceptions of these people, while they're living in Nevşehir of Turkey, to know how the migrant status, I mean, they have a special kind of status in Turkey, of how this status affects their perception of aging and daily life, to evaluate their social, cultural, and economic factors that also have influence their perception level, to disclose the challenges they face due to their transit migrant status, to identify the problems they have been facing due to their age at the same time. So these are my objectives of my research. I try to use qualitative research methodology to make in-depth interview. One thing I'd like to make sure that these people, I had to use a questionnaire in Turkish, and I have to there was a Turkish English conversation. So these people even don't speak Turkish language. Even for you kind information, in Turkey, if someone doesn't speak Turkish, he will not be incorporated. He will not be accepted into the society with a great-heartedly. So Turkish language is one of the main important factors to be incorporated, to be integrated into Turkish mainstream community. So, and because that research topic is about the perception of the Iranian immigrants living in Nevşehir province of Turkey, I decided to employ qualitative research methodology, and the research design is kind of both descriptive and exploratory. And yeah, so I have used, even how many people, how many Iranian elderly people are living in that city, in that province, it's not recorded in migration department. Just I got some idea that some people are living, but they are not recorded even. So I tried to use snowball sampling to collect the interview data. Yeah, so let's go to the results and conclusion, results and discussion. So when I asked the people, the participants disclosed the reasons for why they left Iran. They disclosed two reasons. One is then related because of politics and the social security. They lived for European countries. So their aim is to move to USA or Canada. So this study shows that aging perceptions among the Iranian elderly with transit migrant status are negative because of their personal, because of their physical, because of their economic and social aspects or resources. So because they are in a different country, the elderly migrants don't celebrate even any social and cultural activities of their own. So they feel that some people, they are very different from others. So they have, these things also have impacts on shaping their perceptions towards aging. They think that, oh, we are very aged, that's why we cannot celebrate anything. We cannot go to any social gatherings. We cannot go to any social events. So the results supports also some of the previous study. And as transit migrants, the participants have limited contact with the people. That's the very important thing. They are very unfamiliar because they are in very unfamiliar place, and we are the emotional burden of old age. So
1 minute to go.
Oh, sorry. So since they are in a very in an unknown place, so their transit migrant status don't allow them. They don't find it necessary to learn Turkish language. So that's why they don't get the many services from Turkey. And even there are no holistic policies in Turkey to cover all the health facilities, all the social facilities to cover these people. Though, in Turkey, Turkish government has so many health facilities and social care services for the elderly people, I mean, native elderly people, but these people are not getting those services even, and including the free transportation cost. So they are not even getting the free transportation cost, free transportation. So the respondents have designed aging from different aspects of their life. They say that no, culturally they have some cultural differences, but cultural aspect don't affect themselves. They have only one important thing, which is related to actually economic aspect. According to them, they don't have the work permit, which is the main thing that makes them vulnerable at their early age, and they don't know. This is the uncertainty, and this is actually I try to relate in with the theory of intersectionality. Intersectionality here, I try to say how, since the old age is a burden, and at the same time these people are in a different situation, so it also increases the amalgamates their vulnerability. So in this case, I try to incorporate how intersectionality term, theory of intersectionality can be applied here to understand their perception regarding their old age. So that's all about from me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's amazing, and I know how difficult it is to conduct and research in any point there is a language differentials or language barriers, and it's not easy. So you did it, and I got some questions, but you don't have to reply now to at the end you can do that. Like I understand the aging is something like like, but how the perceptions, and you talked about it, how was perception measured? That is one thing, and you can put it up. And who these people are, in fact, from Iran? Are they Baha'i or
Yeah,
the
exactly. They are
refugees?
Baha'i. Yeah,
Or they
they are
have Baha'i.
Baha'i.
Oh, now I understand why they are there. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dr. Mazharul Islam, and it was an amazing one. And I'll talk to you on that at some point of time, and when we get together on some at some point of time. Thank you so much. And let me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And we skipped two presentations. Are they here now? Ms. Sabina Lucky is here. Ms. Sabina Lucky is here.
She's there. She's there.
Oh, okay. So can I invite Sabina Lucky now to present her paper on development of diaspora writing in Indian English fiction? I'm not going to the next one. So please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So, good evening to all. First of all, I would like to thank to the organizing team of this wonderful conference who gave me the opportunity of making my presentation. So the title of my presentation is Development of Diaspora Writing in Indian English Fiction, Potential Roles and...
Hello, Sabina. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, yeah. I am Sabina Lagi, a PhD research scholar, Department of English, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh.
All right, let's go ahead.
Okay, the title of my presentation is Development of Diaspora Writing in Indian English Fiction, Potential Roles and Effects of Diaspora's Experiences. Introduction. Diaspora as a topic has been a favorite with many books and authors in recent times. These books deal with diaspora in a number of ways, from the historicity of the original Jewish diaspora to an abstract and a general theorization of diaspora as a contemporary reality. Since the purpose of this paper is not exactly to define or interrogate the concept of diaspora as such, but to fall back on it as a useful concept or a category to read a text, it is felt necessary to use a general and agreeable definition or explication of the term. The approach adopted by John MacLeod in defining diaspora is rich in clarity and catholicity. Will be followed here as a guideline. Here I quote, "What is a diaspora?" In his excellent book Global Diasporas and Introduction, Robin Cohen tentatively describes diasporas as communities of people living together in one country who acknowledge that the all country, a notion often buried deep in language, religion, custom, or folklore, always has some claim on their loyalty and emotions. The emphasis on collectively and community here is very important, as is the sense of living in one country but looking across time and space to another. Cohen continues that a member's adherence to a diasporic community is demonstrated by an acceptance of an inescapable link with their past migration history and a sense of co-ethnicity with others of a similar background. So, it is a general characteristic of the diasporics that they continue to relate personally or vicariously to the homeland in a way or another, and their communal consciousness and solidarity are importantly defined by the existence of such a relationship. They always dream of returning home. In this regard, William Safran, who is a writer of diasporic writing, in his paper says diasporas in modern societies myths of homeland and return. Diaspora consciousness is an intellectualization of an existential condition. Is that condition that is ameliorated by an imaginary homeland to which one hopes one will someday return. Thus, the diasporic people do not break their relationship with their original land. There is a search for continuity and original impulse and an effort to look for their roots. Especially the first generation immigrants are always concerned with keeping the socio-cultural baggage which consists of, among other things, their religion, language, music, art, dress, cuisine, etc. Conscious efforts are made by the diasporic communities to pass their traditions to future generations. The experiences of these cultural elements have been varied in a different diasporic situation. Some of these elements have disappeared, Some have survived or persisted, others have experienced assimilation, syncretism, or change, and a few elements have sought to be revived. The immigrants in these situations are forced to feel that they stand on the borderline, belonging neither to their maternal place or nor to their foster country. Now I'm going to discuss diasporic experiences as the sources of creative materials. The resultant was cultural experience, which gave a uh, new orientation to the lives of new immigrants, offered them exciting material for creative efforts. They took some time to settle down and acculturate, but as soon as they did so, creative writing began to proliferate. As Uma Parmeshwaran, a popular author of diasporic writing, argues that the ethnic or immigrants writer either writes about the country in which he and she is presently residing, like the mainstream writers do, and thus try to be like them, or he and she can write about his or her ethnic world and thus be different. Not only did they write about their lived experience in the new space, but they also had to rethink of their political stand regarding their identities as writers in the host land and their attitude to the mainstream literature, culture, and identity. Therefore, the native or immigrant writer feels a compelling need to write and write back. Most of these writings seem almost autobiographical to the extent that they reflect the experience of the diasporic community to which the writer belongs. One of the key problems that the diasporic community faces is the predicament concerning identity. According to a critic, Lisa Lau, identity is one of the most common themes in their literature, and in many cases, the search for self identity is portrayed as confusing, painful, and only occasionally rewarding. Some write or semi autobiographical novels delving into personal past in order to either discover or re examine their motivations and affinities. Others use fictional characters and situations to question traditional norms, testing, trying, and occasionally reinforcing. So Lisa Law completes her words here. While nostalgia and memory formed an important part of the early first generation writing, later mainly second generation writing concentrated on the cultural and psychological experience of those who were now ready to lay roots in the new soil. Among the early writers, mention may be made of Bharti Mukherjee, Veena Alexander, Chitra Banerjee Devakarni, and one can cite the names of Jhumpa Lahiri, Amina Mir, Vijay Lakshmi, and Amitabh Kumar among the later writers. The expatriate negotiates a new space between the two worlds, trapped between two cultures and often languages. The expatriate writers negotiates a new literary space. The diasporic literature thus arises under these circumstances. The broken cycle of the immigrants shades of its narratives into writing. The diasporic writers, with their multicultural ethos and a deep understanding of their socio-cultural and economic realities, have successfully transmuted their experiences into writing. Another important reason for writing by the creative talent among the diasporic community is to make their presence known. The very act of creation is a deliberate attempt to forge a cultural identity. The immigrant experience and status of expatriate writers are filtered continuously and replicated in their fiction. Like the writers of all other countries, Indian writers have made significant contributions to the contemporary diasporic literature, especially in fictional writing in English. Indian diaspora writers comprise of V.S. Nepal, Salman Rushdie, Rohinton Mistry, Kavita Deswani, Anita Desai, Shona Singh Balvin, Uma Parmeshwaran, Bharti Mukherjee, Chitra Banerjee Devakarni, Meena Alexander, Veena Sayal, Jhumpa Lahiri, Abha Devasar, Suniti Namjoshi, Lakshmi Gill Panna Naik, Hima Nair, and many more. These writers have left the original nation to live in other countries, sometimes out of their choice to work or study, and at times they or their family need to leave India for economic, political, or social reasons. They nostalgically recall their motherland, custom, culture, language, and people, and irrespective of any generation, creative writers use these things in their writings. Indian fictional writers made themselves successful in picking up a plethora of both native and transcultural aspects.
You
As
got one
we-
more minute, Sabina?
Okay, sir. So here I would like to conclude my presentation. The diasporic writings are the records of the experiences of the diasporic communities living in varied socio-cultural settings. The diasporic Indian writings covers every continent and part of the world. It is an interesting paradox that many Indian writings in English are produced not in India but in widely distributed geographical areas. Indian diaspora today resides from the Caribbean islands, South Africa, Mauritius, which is called all diaspora, to the USA, Canada, and Australia. In 44 countries all over the world, the Indian diasporic community has made a substantial contribution to the literary output of their host countries. Right from its inception, Indian writing in English has been a thwarted soul, thriving on imitation, translation, borrowing, and compromise, and sometimes encounter. The present scenario is not altogether different, and Indian English fiction, which forms a significant volume of Indian diaspora writing, is not an exception. This paper examines the migration of people from India to various countries. It also reveals how exile in the form of migration has been the cause of the emergence of many writers who have given direction to the progress of Indian literature. So here I've finished my presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sabina. Thank you so much. Like I said before in Basundara's presentation, you see, there is actually a thin line between the conceptions or the way we define the diaspora and migration. So, and you cited Robin Cohen, and his, the way he told us what diaspora are actually, and this has, and his perception on conception or definitions have been heavily criticized for various reasons. I can't tell you at the moment, but if I can ask you, like, you don't have to answer at the moment, like how, because when the diaspora without and these people are not actually by training migration scholars or migration researchers, and when they write, and if you keep the image of Rabin Cohen's definition of diaspora, how differently they are actually portraying diaspora. And just keep this in mind, and you can reply if we got time at the end of the session. Thank you, Sabina. And can I go back to Dr. Bizoy if he is okay now with the sound system? Oh, still we can't hear you, Dr. Bizoy, and maybe we have to go to the next one.
Just, he's trying, and also the room in charge, the Feroz can help him. Feroz, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
you can help Vijay. Yeah, you can help Vijay to log in.
He is already here. So let him check his voice. Actually,
he's checking, but we can't hear him.
Better we go to the next one, I guess.
Yes,
by
yes.
this time you try to, please. We go to the next one, then it means social integration through organizations. Case of Malayi, if I'm diaspora in Canada. Mr. Lizulai, can I invite you for your presentation? You got 10 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear, but barely. Maybe you got to do something with the sound.
You speak loud. Open your video also. Yeah. Please,
yes.
Can you open your screen? Yeah.
Sir,
yes.
Am I audible now?
You're audible.
Yes.
Okay,
now,
sir.
Please go ahead.
Sir, actually, I want to share my slide now, but how can I don't get any option?
There is option. Yes, there's option. They just on the niche, on the down. There's a just click down. There is a share screen. Can you see that?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Yeah. click on the icon of share screen, you will do it. You can take the help of your friend.
Sir, is it visible, sir?
No, it's not visible.
Not yet.
Sir, is it okay now?
No, we can't see your screen. Share screen, you got icon. Just click on that. Then it will take you to, you can use your screen. Yeah. Feroz, can you help him? Yeah, now we can see.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir, myself, Vijolal, research scholar, Department of Sociology, University of Kerala. And the present paper is titled Social Integration Through Organization, the Case of Malayali Diaspora in Canada. It's an overview about different diasporic organizations and its effect on social life in Malayali diaspora in Canada. The objective of the paper is to give an overview of different Malayali diaspora organization and its effect on social life of Malayali community in Canada. The paper is based on secondary data analysis based on the content available in different websites and social media. Introduction: Malayali diaspora, who are they? Malayali diaspora, who were originated from the state of Kerala, India, were the group who formed in the different regions all over the world. Malayalis are also the people of Indian origin and from the state of Kerala. They speak Malayalam. They also called Malayali, Malayali, and Mallus. They were very rich in culture, religious tradition, mostly from Hindu, Muslim, and Christian backgrounds. They have a huge history of migration from the ancient to modern. And after independence, they were mainly migrated to Gulf regions, and now it's turned to more developed states. This flow of migration from Kerala found Malayali diasporas across the globe. Malayali diaspora in Canada. The major groups of Indian diasporic groups in Canada include Sikh, Tamil, Telugu, and Malayali. The Malayali population in Canada, as per the estimate of ILO in 1983, was 3,000, which was increased during year after year. The Canada is one of the most dream destination for the Kerala migration aspirant. The number of Malayalis in Canada is compared to other diasporic group is very less. As one of the largest country in the world having different climatic regions, the Malayali community spread to various regions, so that the organization too. So this presentation, this paper is going to give an overview of Malayali diaspora organization in Canada and how it's affect the life. Totally 5 organizations were selected, but due to some time constraint, I have to go to 1 or 2 organizations, then to the result part. Canadian Malayali Association is one of the most important organizations formed in the year 2001 on the special day, Kerala Piravi, that is the first day of the month November. Kerala Piravi is the day which officially the state of Kerala came to exist. The objective of the association is to develop and enhance Malayalam language and its culture. The major events coordinated by Canadian Malayali Association include CMA Cultfest, it's a cultural festival, picnic, CMA Onam, and other activities. Onam is the one of the most traditional celebration we have. It's our national festival. Year by year we are celebrating it, and food festival like Tattugada. Tattugada is the traditional hotel or restaurant that provided traditional food items for the people. Toronto Malayalam Samajam is the second organization, the oldest Malayali diaspora association, which was established in the year 1968. TMS is a secular, non-political, non-profit organization. The major goal of TMS is the socio-cultural integration of Malayali in Canada. The association works for the quality of socio-cultural life in Malayali through socio-cultural activities. Over 400 Malayali families are the lifetime member of Toronto Malayalam Samajam. Their significant events include Keralotsavam and Hridayapurvam. Keralotsavam is a cultural fest that give an opportunity to participate the members to traditional arts and cultural activities. Hridayapurvam is one of the helpline program during the pandemic period, which provide essential services to the elderly migrants, student migrants, and other facilities like providing information and etc. Ontario Regional Malayali Association, known as ORMA, is formed in the year 2001. ORMA is a Malayalam word which means sweet memories. So they are using this as their association name. It's a friendly forum for Ontario Malayalis to meet and exchange their ideas. It's also provide opportunity to come together. So how it act? There are some other institution or organizations too, but I am going to discussion part. The maintenance of socio-cultural identity is the one of the major aspect of this organization. Language is the soul of Malayali identity. This association provide an opportunity to meet the Malayalis across Canada and use the language of Malayalam in their day-to-day life. Then festivals, Malayali celebrate numerous festivals like Onam, Vishu, Thiruvar, etc. Then art form, Kathakali, Kalaripayattu, Mohiniyattam is some of the major traditional art forms from Kerala. These are all celebrated by this organization during these celebrations of festivals. Appearance. The Malayali appearance is based on the traditional dress code like mundu, kurta, or Kerala style sari, etc. All these integrate them in their social life. Then networking. Network provides social capital which are essential for the adaptation and adjustment of the new migrants. So these associations act as a facilitator to avoid alienation in the new migrants. Like when a new person comes to Canada, these associations help them to adjust and adapt them in a new social condition. There are various kinds of diaspora organizations which are based on professional, socio-cultural, and caste and religious basis. These groups integrate the individual to their community. Socialization, one of the most important and significant effect of this organization is the socialization of children. Children get opportunity to learn the values, customs, traditions from the group. So in the second generation diasporic community get the opportunity to, hello?
You got 1 more minute.
Okay, sir, okay. So socialization is a process where they can learn Malayalam language, customs, tradition, etc. These are some photos of that association Sonam celebration. Here are some of the most traditional art form. These are the Sadhya Onam. Sadhya is one of the most important part of our life. This is Chenda Melam, which is a part of our traditional life. These are the events coordinated by these associations. As a result, they encourage the young mind to participate in these events. Matrimonial opportunities, they provide options to find their partners and spiritual support, and other implications like entertainment and refreshment, charity, caste and community sentiments, and crisis response during the pandemic. In conclusion, Malayali diaspora in Canada dispersed throughout the country, but still they have organized themselves under different names. These groups are contributed significantly to the well-being of the community. There are different types of organizations, secular, democratic, or non-political, as well as caste and community-based. Enrichment of Malayali tradition and values are the focal objective of these groups. These groups help to encourage and organize them to an integrated form in the new place like Canada. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lizolain, and it's a good presentation. But the thing is, social integration and how has this been actually conceptualized? Because I understand that when we, the foreigners in other countries, and when you talk about social integration, is integrating to the mainstream Canadian, or if you are in the US, mainstream US people. But it seems from your discussion that you're talking about like integration within their own community, but it's not about the mainstream community, right?
Yes,
it is.
Yes, right.
So this has to be actually made very, very succinct and very, very precise. That was not very clear. Otherwise, thank you very much. And we are running out of time. And should I go to Mr. Bizay Sani now? And you're okay with your sound system now?
Yeah, he is there. Vijay, can you start? Unmute your mic. You have not unmuted your mic. Can you unmute your mic, please? You have to unmute. Hello. You have not unmuted your mic. Feroz, can you just call him and inform him?
Yes, sir. I
He has to unmute, no? Anyway, we have to go to next speaker then. He can be
Okay.
at the last.
Okay. So let's go to the next one, the diaspora in aid and development, looking through a local lens. Mrs. Jivika Vivekanandan, perhaps?
Jivika Vivekanandan.
Yeah, okay, all right, please go ahead. You got 10 minutes.
Okay.
Can you introduce yourself, Jivika Vivekanandan?
Yep, I'll do that. Before, let me share my screen. Right. Elorukum Vanakkam. I'm Jivika from the Center for Humanitarian Leadership, which is based in Melbourne. As I always do at the beginning of my presentation, I would like to acknowledge and pay my respect to Indigenous elders of the land where I'm speaking from, and the Indigenous communities all across the world for their resistance against colonization and imperialization. So what I have done for this presentation is to pull out some of the lessons from two of my research done in development and humanitarian context and argue for an inclusive framework to understand diaspora in humanitarian aid and development. So when we look at the literature on diaspora in humanitarianism and development, our understanding is largely influenced by the voices and perspectives from the intra-governmental organizations, international non-governmental organizations, diaspora organizations that are well established, organized, and formalized. Also increasingly from the home government and host government agencies. What is missing in the big picture? It is the local civil society, the local counterparts of the diaspora actors in development, including their families, hometown communities, activists, academics, grassroots organizations that are functioning within these hometown communities. Why is it so important to incorporate their voices and perspectives? To answer To answer that, let's take a quick look at the definition for diaspora. So this is the definition my colleague Phil Corners and I derived from the empirical evidences from our Pacific diaspora research, and also deriving the salient features of Jonathan Grossman's decontested definition for diaspora. I would like to highlight two main features here. One is the group identity, which we tend to associate with the national identity of the diaspora group, that is linking, that automatically links diaspora communities to the national development goals. Here, I argue that we need to decontextualize the national identity, because by doing so, by going for a national identity to understand the diaspora formulation, we tend to ignore the diverse diaspora formulation based on ethnicity, hometown association, profession, and religion, etc. The next feature is the known and imagined community spheres, the family and known community spheres, where diaspora largely operates. Known community spheres here encompasses of groups of people who personally know each other, unlike the unknown or imagined community sphere where the nation and the national identity come to play. Therefore, I argue that the family and known community spheres consist of people-to-people connection that are more visible, more viable, and tangible. So it is really significant to bring the voices and perspectives of the local civil society to understand the role of diaspora in aid and development. I'm going to shed some light on the nuances in how a local civil society perceives the notion of development and the role of diaspora in development. So these are the perspectives of the local civil society in the northern province of Sri Lanka on the role of their Tamil diaspora counterparts in the post-war development. As a qualitative research, I would like to give you some of the interview quotes and let them speak for themselves instead of interpreting in my own words. Here we go. So what is development? Is it the economic growth? Is it an increase in the GDP? Or is it about the infrastructural development? The participants from the local civil society says, the development undergoing is now something that makes Tamils more slaves. The development is now about getting rid of the dependency status. We can't again put them in dependency status. Diaspora seems to do that job. It has been 7 years since the end of war. Can't say there is a remarkable development in the living status of people. For example, roads were repaired and bridges were constructed and some buildings were built. The rule is thing that building roads and bridges is the development. So here these voices challenge the conventional understanding of development and indicate that a local community and diaspora community do not always have the same development agenda. They also indicate that a national government and the local community do not always agree on what development means to them. So let's take a look at the relationship and trust between the local civil society and the diaspora community. So here's the participant representing a local NGO. Says, when it comes to diaspora, we feel free to work with them because we are from the same domain, but living in separate areas. We can get funding or assistance from diaspora for our objectives-related core activities. INGOs won't fund for our objectives or core activities. They come up with their own agenda and we have to find a way to align with it. So this quote reflects the comfortable zone and where the local civil society has the power to negotiate and demand their diaspora counterparts in development. But the question arises at this point, is it always the same case? Is it always this simple, straightforward, and positive? The answer is no. So if you take a quick look at these quotes, they would tell you a different side of the story where the delicate relationship and trust can turn into be problematic features and have a negative impact on the outcomes of diaspora-led development activities? These are the interesting questions surface every time we talk about or we debate about diaspora in development and humanitarian aid. Are they insiders or outsiders? Are they experts in solidarity or experts in competition? These are the conflict of perspectives and social issues. If we neglect, they will cause social fragmentation. So at this point, I would like to challenge the taken for granted assumptions about the knowledge transfer from diaspora communities to the local communities. Why do we think that diaspora knowledge is superior? Is it because they now live in the so-called global north? I think we need to decolonize our mindset, decolonize our understanding of aid and development, and critically look at the role of diaspora in development, instead of romanticizing and championing this notion as something it always do good, or reduces inequalities in the society, or improves well-being and the livelihoods of the local communities. To do so, I'm proposing constructivist approach and a decolonial lens. Paradigm of constructivism encourage knowledge accumulation in the form of more informed, sophisticated reconstruction of vicarious experiences and multi-voices. We need to ask whose voices and perspectives are overrepresented in the knowledge production. And we need to ask whose voices and perspectives are oppressed in the knowledge production. So the paradigm of constructivism and decolonial lens creates space for us to reconstruct knowledge on diaspora in aid and development by
you got two more minutes.
Yeah, I'm almost there. By incorporating the voices and perspectives of the local civil society. So I'm concluding that without them, without the local voices and perspectives from the local civil society on their diaspora counterparts in development and humanitarianism, the knowledge is incomplete, the framework is incomplete, the picture and the story, they are incomplete. Nandri, thank you.
Thank you so much. The finishing on time. And Jivika, it seems like is a perception of the knowledge. How do they understand development and aid from their own perspective, something like that? Because I was not sure what your precise objectives are. This is why maybe you will be getting some questions and to answer at the end of the sessions. And I go to the next one, and that will be the last presenter. And thank you so much, Jivika, again, for your interesting presentation. Is Dr. Bizai ready now?
He's ready. He's ready.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please go ahead, please. I'm not going.
You are audible.
Yes, please.
Very good evening to good evening to the chair and all my dear colleagues. I'm so sorry. It took me some time to resolve the issue, and now it is fixed, so I can go ahead. My name is Vijay Soni, and I'm a PhD scholar at IGNO. And this paper is being presented by me and my guide, Dr. Sadanand Sahu, jointly. The topic of my paper is Indian Diaspora and Repatriation, Nationalism in the Time of COVID-19. So, in fact, I would make it more discursive in nature, because the word repatriation is probably problematic here. Repatriation is a statutory and legal procedure, whereas you ask a migrant sending country asks to a receiving country to repatriate, and there is absolutely diplomatic channels which are there. So it would be better to say homecoming. Another distinction about a repatriation is when you do a repatriation, so the person who is being repatriated generally do not come back to the country where he or she works. So again, within that context, probably this will not be appropriate to call it repatriation. And it would be, again, I would assert to say it a homecoming of Indian diaspora during the time of COVID. COVID-19 pandemic brought centrality to the concept of home and home country. By home, we mean belonging and identity affirmation. Home is a place of final refuge during the time of crisis, where one goes for solace, safety, and protection. Closely linked with the concept of home is that of identity, whether it is cultural, linguistic, or religious. COVID-19 led to one of the biggest repatriation, again, I'm just using for the sake of convenience, process in the human history and diasporic studies. Why I'm saying this one is because within a short span of 6 months, some 2.7 million people, it means 27 lakh Indians, were brought back to India under Vande Bharat mission, which was launched somewhere in May 2020. The mission continues till date and is under the 7th phase of repatriation process. The phenomena is especially marked in states like Kerala, Gujarat, Punjab, which has seen substantial number of returned migrants. It was one of the biggest state-sponsored process, and Indian migrants were brought back to India from countries like Canada, the US, UK, Kenya, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Kyrgyzstan, Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, Thailand, South Africa, Russia, Australia, Myanmar, Japan, Ukraine, and the list is probably more than the number of countries that I have counted. Under the phase 3, right now we are in the phase 7, so phase earlier to this one, under the phase 7 of Vande Bharat mission, which was we had almost like 894 international flights, with 142 feeder flights were operated from 24 countries. And during 6th phase, about 1.75 lakh people were brought back to India. Vande Bharat mission was a humanitarian step initiated by the home country. It is to be noted that when a migrant worker goes to another country to work, he or she goes on a work visa permit. Where occurrences of eventualities like pandemic or political, social, racial violences are not covered, there is no bilateral agreement between the sending and receiving countries of the migrant either. The COVID-19 highlighted the abdication of responsibility vis-a-vis migrant workers, as large number of them lost their jobs and were left to fend for themselves, apart from the cases of wage theft by the employers in the host countries. Conceptually speaking, what explains the process of state-sponsored repatriation? It is a deeply political issue and differs from one political party to another. In the present context, the repatriation process was initiated in India by Bharatiya Janata Party-led government, which has long nurtured its relationship with the Indian diaspora. Starting from Pravasi Bharati Divas to overseas Indian citizenship that was given to overseas Indians, the party extended economic and political rights to overseas Indian. The party has overseas chapters in countries where there are sizable number of Indians, in the form of strong support group for the party during diplomatic visits, like we saw during Howdy Modi in the US. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the party found an opportunity to reaffirm its ties with the Indian diaspora and launch the mission. It is this close association between the diaspora and homeland that has been responsible for fostering nationalism among the Indian diaspora. There are various shades of nationalism, which in the Indian context could be linguistic, religious, as in the case of Hindu nationalism that we are quite familiar with. And incidentally, there has been historical cases. There has been historical association of Indian political parties with the diaspora. The 3 leading political parties in India, that is the Congress, the BJP, and the Communist Party of India, has had a very close association with Indian diaspora. In fact, The Communist Party of India was not found in India. Surprisingly, not many people would be knowing that the Communist Party of India was not formed in India. It was formed in Tashkent in 1926 by Indian diasporic group and by M.N. Roy, who was a great political and labor leader. The Indian National Congress, on the other hand, was formed by two diasporic persons, A.O. Hume and W.C. Banerjee in 1885. While Hume was a British diasporic person, W.C. Banerjee, in the course of time, went to Britain and contested for member of parliament for the British Labour Party. Subsequently, Mahatma Gandhi, who was himself a diasporic person, played a critical role within the Congress.
Mr. Biza, can I finish in 1 minute, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the point that I wanted to assert is about nationalism. So I will bring why the repatriation process took place at the very first instance. The reason is because of the economic human capital of the diaspora and remittances which India had been receiving. The migrant groups and stakeholders working as a strong pressure group within the government. The lure of political and electoral mileage for the political parties. Electoral value the migrants' families back at the home, because they enjoy a certain kind of electoral value and they can pressure on the political parties. So this is another reason to create a positive image within the Indian diaspora by the host country. Absolutely, that the home country stands by them during the time of crisis. What COVID-19 means to Indian diaspora: centrality of home country and the safety and security it brings to their lives during the migration journey. Most likely, the COVID-19 will initiate policy changes to tackle issues faced during the time of crisis, both by the diasporic group and the home country. Most likely, there would be more increased interaction between the diaspora migrants with the home country, increased mobilization and political participation, both in the home and host countries of the diaspora. Better economic, social, and political interaction and collaboration with the host country, and of course, a return migrant integration policies could be the outcome of COVID-19 crisis that we face vis-a-vis the Indian diaspora. With this one, I would like to say thanks to all of you, and I look forward to a very hotly debated issue, because it's a quite political issue, and I'm sure that a lot of people would be having a good question to put forth. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bijay and Dr. Sahu. This is a interesting topic and very contemporary, and I don't know if we can engage in a deep discussions that you refer to, and because we already ran out of time. But the thing is, whatever are the reasons that you mentioned in your conclusion, but India has been really very successful in conducting the repatriation when around 90% of the flights in the world were grounded. So right. India did a very good job, obviously, and whatever are the reasons, is political reason, like it's a political mileage that you mentioned. Anyway, I guess we are done with all the presentations, and if Dr. Mahalingam is there, so can you just help in, because there are some questions in the chat box, and I don't know who is going to facilitate with this question.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear, but it's
hello.
Yes.
Is there any noise at the back?
Yes, there is. Yes.
Excuse me, sir. Okay, there is a people at the back of me there. Okay, sir, actually, now let's take up the question. There are questions in the chat box. I think conference room guys, Feroz, can you help me to read out the questions? Feroz? Feroz, can you open the chat box? I think there are some questions there.
I can unmute them if anyone has questions.
Yeah.
If anyone has questions,
yeah, those who are having questions, you can just unmute and speak, ask questions.
Just raise your hand, I can unmute you.
Okay. So those who have a questions, you can raise your hand, then you can ask your questions. Please do that. I think Golam Mustafa, you just put your questions on the chat box. Now you can ask that question. Hello, Golam, are you there? Or anyone has questions, please raise your hand. Now you will be unmuted. You can raise your questions. Our presenters, can you just open your screen and you can come on screen, please? And you can ask your questions. Now the floor is open. There were so many interesting presentations.
Asanullah sir,
Yeah.
may I say something?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't have a question. Like someone asked me a question, so would you allow me to just read the question and answer?
Yeah, please.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So someone asked me the question: is there any initiative by any organization to learn Turkish language for the Iranian? So for him, I would like to say that actually there are lots of organizations working in Turkey. If you have information about Turkey, so there are lots of organizations, government and non-government organizations providing support to teach Turkish language. But the people, as I mentioned in my presentation, that these are the transit migrants, and there in Turkey is not the country of destination for these people. So Turkey is a transition country. So that's why these people they don't have any intention to learn Turkish language. So since their intention is to move towards European countries, particularly Canada or USA, so they are not interested to learn Turkish language. These are the scenario for the elderly people. But the people, since these people are living in Turkey for the last 10, 15 years or 20 years more, so during this time they have their second generation. So their children, I mean young Iranian, they are receiving education in Turkish language. They are going to Turkish educational institution, and they can speak Turkish very fluently. And for your kind of information, I have also, because I don't speak Iranian language, so during the interview, I took help from a student who is Iranian, I mean, who belongs to this family and who speaks English, who speaks Turkish as well, and who helped me as an interpreter. So the thing is that Iranian elderly, these people are not learning Turkish, rather than whether the young people, young Iranians are learning in Turkish language. So that's what I would like to add here.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other question, please? Any other questions? You can ask questions to the paper presenters, please.
Yeah, sorry, I also received a question from Golam. Yeah, from Golam. He's not on his screen.
Yes, I am present now. Yes.
So please repeat your question. I'm not finding now.
Basically, your presentation was focused on the cross-border illegal migration, and I want to ask about how can we reduce the illegal cross-border migration, especially on the regarding on ethnic group.
Yeah, very good question, Mr. Golam.
Mustafa.
Actually, this is it is really like part of the solution. Is illegal ethnic migrant cross border. So the first solution that the cross border, like both sides, as a joint civil society forum or committee should be there to monitor, or in the committee there should be like both sides, the security staff one person, and the bordering community and the local community also should be there, and so the monitor properly give the proper information who is entering illegally. And the second solution that is the bilateral kind of relation or the talk address the ethnic community that like facing the problem in the host country, and why the ethnic community or people of community migrating illegally crossing the border. So actually there is nothing on the ground to address the problem of the ethnic community. There are certain reasons that so they are forced to migrate, forced to cross the border illegally. So that is a solution, and last solution that is we should welcome the people with if they are coming illegally, all time they don't have the proper documents, but after entering, because all the migrating or people are not like burden, they are really rich in resource, human resource. So we should utilize their human resource. So I also support like, but it should be legally, not illegally, and proper monitoring should be there. So these 3 points I can suggest to address the illegal migration process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions from the floor? Yeah, Vijay has a question. Please unmute and you can ask your question, Vijay.
Sir, there is no question, but a very pertinent observation that I wanted to say. During the course of our discussion, Dr. Ahsanullah rightly pointed out about liquidity of identity over generation. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so liquidity of identity over generation, like first, after second or third generation, your attachment with the host country is quite less than what it was for the parents. Surprisingly, when I was collecting data for my research, I met a second generation Indian American here in India, and he was here to collect some data, and then he was he had been to China. And then I brought this issue before him, and then he gave me a very good incidence. He said when he went to China, and because he was a second generation Indian American, he was born and brought up in America, and he considered himself as an American. So he introduced himself as an American in China to one of the members. But the members just questioned him, you look like very Indian. You look like very Indian, and your name is also Indian. So the person, he said that was the first time that it struck to me that although I was born in America, I have been here. I have never been earlier to India, but my skin, my color, everything speaks about my identity. So this was an observation about liquidity of identity that Professor Ahsanullah was pointing it out. So it was very keen to during my research data collection. I thought, let me bring it to your observation,
this
sir.
Is something like outsider, or the other person is giving the identity or identifying that person, but he himself doesn't consider himself to be an Indian. But anyway, it's long discussions, obviously. We're not going to that. The next one, please, if there is any question to ask.
Yeah, I have a question for Jivika. Jivika, your topic, you said that diaspora in aid and development. So can we conceptualize your paper as diaspora philanthropy or what? And are you just saying, your title says looking through a local lens. What do you mean by that? It's a clarification, actually. It's not a question. Yeah. It's a clarification from you.
Yeah, so looking through the local lens, because when we talk about local, we tend to fall into the national framework, the national government. How does it perceive its diaspora and the relationship between the national government and its diaspora community? If you really look into the literature on diaspora in development. But as I said during my presentation, the diaspora actors, they largely operate in this family and known community spheres. My argument is to bring out that voices and perspectives from the local civil society. So just breaking down that national framework and bringing out the micro level relationship between the local community where the diaspora communities originated, and maintaining that ties and cultivating that ties. So I hope that I answered your second question. And the first question, I didn't I didn't want to box it as a philanthropy because it goes beyond the definition of philanthropy. For me, I come from different backgrounds. I have a development background as well as currently working with humanitarian organization. And my experience with working on diaspora research is that diaspora actors do not actually call or box themselves as the development actors, philanthropists, or humanitarian actors. So it's like a continuum. If you look at the link between development and humanitarian responses, like a continuum, and they tend to fall on it and they tend to move on it. It's more of a liquidization. So I will stick to, maybe I'll just I can label it as development and humanitarianism, but I wouldn't go for that philanthropy because of that complications.
Thank you for your
I'd be interested to read your paper because it is so like the flowing. Like, for example, you talked about your approach is positivist approach, which is actually linked to the fact that you talked about like from their own perspective, how do they think about aid and development? Like, so it's a relevant and very, so
it's more of a thought piece for me as well, because I'm experimenting this decolonizing methodologies, decolonizing research.
That is what I like most.
Thank you for your clarification. You answered my questions, but before I wrap up the session, I request our chat to make concluding remarks. Then I will wrap up the session.
Actually, it's difficult to conclude, because papers are so diverse. Like somewhere very theoretical, somewhere on migration, on refugees, on IDPs, and all these things. It's very difficult, but I would just say I enjoyed a lot and I learned a lot. And it's not only just disciplinary diversity, it's like even geographically from Italy, another from Turkey, from Australia, from India, from Bangladesh. So it's like a very good mix. And I enjoyed that one and I learned a lot, of course. And hopefully we'll be in touch, and it was great to be here with you all and to listen to you. Thank you.
Yeah, I like to thank our chair, Dr. AKM Azanullah. I saw your comments really enriched the session. We are very grateful to you. And also I read out your generous, general profile in the beginning. Now I think, can I give me a little time? I can read out because I just searched your profile on your website. No. So I can do justice to this.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, Professor Ullah has a lot of publication from very well-known publisher. You can read his works on refugees and migration, refugee studies, globalization, development planning, lots of things he's got. So you can refer to his works. And thank you so much. I like to thank all the presenters. 9 presenters were there, and you all presented your papers. You received comments from our chair, esteemed chair. I hope you all benefited from this session. And also I like to thank personally each one of you. For example, Sanchana Srinivastava, Dr. Suvalal, Ms. Vasundhara, and Vijay Soni, and Sabina, and Masrul Islam, Liju, and Jivika. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Please include those comments given by chair and improve your paper and send it to us. We are going to publish it through our journal. So thank you so much. Please join our plenary session at 5:30. It's starting at 5:30. It's a very interesting session. There are experts to speak on different perspectives on migration and diaspora. Let me sign off now and stay safe and join our, coming up sessions. Yeah, thank you so much. Stay tuned, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you to all.
Oh, Vijay, thank you, Vijay. You made it finally.
Sir, thank you. It was, I had to shift to another desk.
Yeah.
Ask my IT team.
Yeah. Anyway, good, because you made it finally. I liked your determination. Good. It was
thanks a lot.
It was giving you problem. Even we could not help you because the problem from your end.
No, I don't know, but initially I was not unmuted from from the host, so I was facing problem. Then I moved on to another com.
Okay.
And spoke to Feroz. Feroz helped me a lot.
Oh, good.
So thanks to him, and thanks to you.
I like to thank Feroz also. Feroz, are you there? Hello, Feroz.
Yes, sir, I am here.
Really, you helped Vijay to log in. I am very grateful to you, Feroz, and I think our session went very well. So I think Vandana is there.